Hi guys. So I wanted to talk a little bit about reading the Bible. This is something that has been like a little confusing for me over the years, something that has always been a little bit controversial. I feel like I have met people, I know people who may feel the Bible isn't real, may feel like there's made up stories, may feel like, some of it's real, some of it didn't happen, it's been changed, it's been altered. And I can see how it can be very frustrating or scary in the aspect of like, okay, like it can halt you from wanting to read it, hearing the different people's opinions and ideas and thoughts on the Bible. But something that I've learned over time is that if you don't go and seek for yourself, you'll never know the full truth. And I think that that's like so important in anything in life. Like always, especially even take for example, okay, you have two friends and one friend comes to you and is like, "Oh, this friend said this and she did that and she did all of these things and she said this about you." And like, okay, so you got this friend now and they're telling you like, "Okay, she did this to me and she said this about you." And it's like, wow, and you take everything that this person says and you run with that. You block that friend, never talk to that friend again. It's over with. You're just with this person, with this friend. Now, you could do that, and you'd have every right to. But don't you think that this other person deserves to be heard too? Like, when you really think about it. So I think it's always like, get both sides of the story. I'm sure you've heard this thing, get both sides of the story when you're taking in any argument, you're taking in any situation. Because you go to this friend and you find out that she actually never said those things about you, that the other person did, and that actually she said those things about this certain person because of what that person did, or it can be anything. But now you have both sides of the story. You're able to look at both sides of the story. You can even bring both together and be like, okay, well, this person you're saying this about, and bring it into a situation where it's, okay, now I have all of the information that I can get. Now, obviously, it's he said, she said, but you still have all of the information to make an educated decision versus just taking one thing and running with it. And I think that that's something that people really struggle with today, is a lot of people will get information and they just take that and they just hold it to be true and they just run with it. And I think that we have this issue too, because some people are listening to pastors. Like, if you have a pastor that you've been up under and you trust them and you respect them, and maybe they said something that they weren't fully knowledged on, or were actually they were speaking on something and it was misinformation, but you didn't know because you took what they said and you ran with it. And, but sometimes it's like we will take the information from one person or one source or one thing because it's reliable, and we won't go for deeper understanding. We won't look for a full revelation, or we won't go search up the facts for ourselves. And I think that that's something that can be halting or stagnating in your relationship with God in a lot of scenarios. Because if you're going to a prophet to get answers about something, and you may not even have, like, a lot of the times, especially before I built my like strong relationship like with God, like talking to him, like understanding, praying, building that foundation, I used to go to a prophet because I thought that that was going to be my best chance of hearing God. Like, I didn't think that I could ever be capable of hearing God. So how could I hear his voice? I'm just, me. And these people they've sent by God. He has these gifts planted in them. And I don't think that's my gift. And, the spiels that you go on. But I used to you'd go to a prophet to get a word from God. And, like, sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes you'd be like, but but it was like, it was the only way. And then it was like, if it didn't play out now, or it didn't work, or it didn't pan out, now you gotta wait till you find the next prophet or see the next prophet. And it's it can be very difficult. And like, even like my mom, she's a prophet, but I never went to her because I'm like, you already know everything, mom. Like, you already know what I'm going through and like all of this stuff, so I'm not gonna go to you and ask you when you're just gonna tell me about me, because you already know me. So how can I know that it's from God? Like, that always felt like that. So I always found a different prophet, but I would go to these prophets to get answers in regards to God or things that I was seeking. And it was like, this was the only way that I felt like I was really able to get a clear understanding answer. And that's not a bad thing to go to prophets. But then it's like you need to be able to verify it. Well, you're going to get to a certain point where it's like you will be able to go to God, get the answer from God, and it's good. And then like God might send a prophet. He might send someone and be like, here's confirmation on this. But I feel like when in regards to a prophet, and I'm not saying like this isn't something, like obviously there's case scenarios where God like can't get to you, or you sit in this person instead of speaking to you. Like I'm saying that, but I'm saying that you need to be able to verify what God is saying to you. And the best way to do that is his word. And that's like really the point that I'm trying to get to here, is that if you spend time in his word, you will be able to learn him. If you spend time reading the Bible, you will be able to get a better understanding of who God is. And I think that there's so much false and like negative information about the Bible because that's the way the enemy wants it. Because he knows if you open that book for yourself and you start reading it, that you're going to find out that you actually have power over him. That you're going to find out who God has called you to be. That you're going to find out that you are a priesthood. That you're going to find out that there is power of life and depth in the tongue. And if you speak certain things over your life, positive or negative, it can come to pass. That you're going to find out, I mean, you can heal. There's healing in the Bible. If you read through it, there's ways to learn on how to be able to step into that. You're going to be able to grow your faith. You're going to find out how to be able to hear God's voice, how to talk to him, how to grow closer to him. You're going to find the answers to all the problems that have been pestering you for all of these years and all of this time. And the enemy doesn't want you to find that. So he's going to say, oh, they're fake stories. Oh, you don't really need to read the Bible. Pastor reads it for you. Oh, you're not going to be able to understand. It's King James. The wording is weird. I mean, no need to translate it. Because if you go into NIV, or Amplify, none of that stuff is too complicated. Or, they probably altered it. So there's no reason to read it. It's not even its original translation of Greek and Hebrew. So why would I read that? And it's going to go on and on and on. But when anything in regards like that, and it's something that's just like there's always a, oh, well this, oh, well that, oh, well this, oh, well that. Don't you think you should just find out for yourself? And I'm saying this not like, if God's telling you not to do something, don't take this and just run with it. But I'm saying that if there is this much negative information about this topic of something that is supposed to be good for you, maybe you should check it out. Because 9 times out of 10, that thing is really good for you. And the enemy is doing everything he can do to stop you from finding out that this thing is good for you. He's doing everything he can do to stop you from opening that book. Or maybe he'll be like, oh, read your verse of the day. Cool, you got your verse of the day in? Great. Nope, ding, notification on your phone. Go check this out. Go look at this funny video. Oh, I'm going to do my devotional today. You get started on it. You get to, oh, well, I don't know. Or maybe you do your devotional, but you don't pray afterwards. Maybe you do your devotional and you're getting ready to pray and you're about to, but the devotional took so long and you're a little tired, a little on your edge about it. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I guess God, oh, someone's calling. Hold on, God. And he'll so quickly pull you away from God's word, from God's presence, from praying with God, from building the intimacy with God. And it seems so innocent. It seems so small. It seems so coincidental. I just got this text message. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do this because, this just, you get distracted so small. The kid comes in, oh, well, this happened and I need to, oh, do it when the kids are asleep. Wake up and do it when they're asleep. Oh, but I'm tired and, I've got work and I've got to take care of the kids and I've got to cook and I've got to, clean and I got to do this and I got to do that. And there's 1,000,001 things in the day that I have to do. But the problem is, and you'll see it in the Bible, but the problem is the enemy is going to do everything he can to take up your time away from God, away from reading your word, make you exhausted, drain you out, so that you will not have the energy, the time in order to read your word. And the crazy thing is when you read oh man, When I open my Bible and I finally start reading after that long, long haul of getting myself there, when I tell you it is life changing, you get to reading, and I mean, I just read one chapter, Matthew 6, and I'm gonna keep going. I have more reading to do, but I had to stop because I already got a revelation that fast. Just reading one chapter, I got this beautiful revelation. My spirit is feeling good. It's soaking it in. It's pondering it. It's thinking about it. It's getting an understanding of it, and it's that other piece inside of you that we forget about. Because we are so busy making sure we have food in our body, because we need food to stay alive, and water, beverage. We need something to drink in order to stay alive. And sleep, we have to sleep so we don't go crazy, right? Insomnia. And, you know, we have to make sure we're taking care of our health. You know, we got our vitamins, we got things that we need. Then we have to make sure that we're getting relaxation time, because we don't want to burn ourselves out. We don't want to get burned out. So we got to make sure that we're having time where we're relaxing. And then, you know, sometimes we just want time for ourselves, so we're going to watch TV and we're going to wind down. And, you know, then we're busy because we've got kids and we've got husbands and we've got responsibilities, or we've got pets that we've got to feed, and we got to scoop up the litter, and we got to sweep the house because the house gets dirty and we have to keep the house clean, and we got to get gas in the car so that we can drive to the grocery store to get groceries for the house. It goes on and on and on. There will always be something to do. This is my this was my I had to realize thing, because I was a perfectionist. And now, by God, I am being delivered for that. I'm delivered from it, you know, speaking it out into existence. That is something that it's nowhere near what it used to be. But I was like control freak perfectionist, and it was like I was always trying to finish, and I was always trying to finish to the best of my ability, and I was always trying to get something done, and it was like this until I'm burnt, like completely burnt out. And like I would be like, I would have great spiels. I would have great, oh my goodness. With school, I was doing about 5 or 6 or 7 EP courses in high school. I was doing gymnastics, club gymnastics for about 3 to 4 hours a night every day, school gymnastics. And then I had about 3 to 4 hours of homework. And then I'd have, you know, trying to hang out with friends, spending time with family. Yeah, trying to hang out with family and friends. And then, you know, I have pets, so I had to take care of them. And it's like I had this perfectionist thing, so I was trying to do every single thing to the best of my ability, and it would take not long before I would get burnt out, and it was like bad. It would lead to like depression, like not wanting to get out of bed, like completely consumed. And at the time I was doing all of these things, and I didn't know God. I had heard of him, but I didn't know him closely. And the thing is that we end up in these cycles of always having something to do, and we get overwhelmed, and we're always trying to do this, we're trying to fix that, we're trying to solve this, we're trying to, and that's okay, because that's life. But there's always going to be something to do. The thing about it is prioritizing those things. And the thing that I've learned so far in this journey is that every time I prioritize God, all the other stuff fades from mattering. The priority of him at the top of the list causes the other things to dwindle. Some of them don't even need to be getting done. Like, some of them were things that I was just like putting pressure onto myself to do that I didn't even need to do. And it's like, once you do this, and then it's like, okay, but then the things start creeping up again. Because obviously I'm hanging out with God, I'm reading my word, I'm praying, I'm doing what I need to be doing. The enemy is mad. So he's gonna nab me. He's gonna throw something in there. Oh, tire pop. Oh, now I gotta work, and I gotta get my tire fixed, and I gotta, you know, and then it's just like, you know, and then it's like, oh, now you're sick. Oh, now I don't feel good. Now I need to rest. Now I need to get, you know, restored. Now I just want to watch a movie, you know, and it's gonna keep happening over and over. Oh, friend betrays you. Now my friends betrayed me. Now I gotta find a new friend. Now I gotta, you know, think, you know, now I've gotta get through this pain, this heartbreak. And it's like, he will continue. The enemy's gonna try to find anything he can do to stop you from continuing to stay with God, or from even opening up that door. And that's why it's so important to stay in this, like, once you're in this, staying in this is so important. And I know it can be like, okay, well, I already did that. I already know. I've read the Bible before. That I've read the Bible before it gets me every time. Oh, I've read the Bible. I know it's in there. What? I have never been able to read not even a verse of the Bible and think and get the same thing from it. Read one verse and be like, oh, I 100% understand that verse, and I don't ever need to read it again. I know that a lot of you have probably been deterred from reading the Bible, or you may be watching this video, you clicked on it because you literally looked up, like, what's the point? Do I really need to read the Bible? I've been there. I didn't think that it was a necessity, and maybe there were even times where it was like, I thought, like, okay, yeah, like the big points, like Jesus, I'll read about him, or maybe I only need to read the New Testament. But there is so much in the entire Bible, and you need to read the whole thing. And then it's not just needing to read the whole thing, it's remembering the thing. Like, we have this access to this Bible, we have this access to the book every day, any day. We can open it and read it. And we don't even understand the luxury of that. There are so many places where people don't even have access to be able to do this. And we don't have the time. It's frustrating. I know it's frustrating for God. It's frustrating for me because I used to not read the Bible. I used to not want to read the Bible. I used to not be interested in the Bible. I used to read one verse and I would fall asleep, or I would be reading my devotional and that's how I went to sleep. I mean, it's upsetting. It's frustrating because as I read more, I wish that I would have went back and just read it now, like back then, and just did it, because the deeper I get, the more I'm like, I need more time. I need more time to dive into this. I need more time to really get to know you, God. God is his word. And I feel like I want to get closer to God. I want to build a relationship with God. I want to get to know God. His word is him. I mean, you can have a relationship with him where you're praying and where you're talking to him, where you hear his voice, and all of those things are there. But the Bible's still incorporated into all of that in general if you have that relationship. But you can even go deeper by just reading his word, getting to know him. And then in that Bible, you get to know Jesus too. You get to know the Holy Spirit too. And you get to know the enemy. You learn about him as well. You learn how Jesus defeated him. When Jesus did his fast for 40 days and 40 nights and he was in the wilderness and he came out of that 40 days, my Jesus was hungry. And he came out of that and the devil came. And I'll let you know, after a 3-day fast, a week-long fast, you be ready to... if you're not in your word during your fast, which is why the word is important too. But if the enemy come and tempt you at you just finish your fast, I mean, you strong for like a couple days or two, but after, if you're not in your word, you're not praying, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you'll leave that door open for him to slither in there. And I tell you, Jesus is so good because he even let it happen. He entertained. He didn't have to entertain it. He had the power to just like be like, get out of my face, say it and like get away. And he would have had to leave. But he stayed there and entertained it for us because it was a learning moment for us to literally show us how to defeat the devil in times of temptation. And he went through and he offered him the kingdoms, and he told him to turn a stone into bread, and it was a different. You need to go read this. This is a great passage of the Bible. There's so much in this just little tiny bit. All of Jesus in general that's where I started actually. When I was trying to dive into reading the Bible more intently and more intentionally, I started with Jesus and the disciples. And that's where a lot of people start, and it's a great place to start because it helps you to really get to know Jesus, build that connection with him, build that love in your heart for him, and it does make you hunger for more, thirst for more of the Bible. But yeah, so it's in that chunk where he really takes the time to break down how to stop the devil when he's tempting you. And if we had that in our pocket, and it was because he knew the word. Well, Jesus, he was the word, but he knew the word. Okay, the point of it, he knew it. Like, it's his being. It's in his being. And so when the enemy said things to try to convince Jesus to go against God that didn't sound that bad, because it doesn't always sound that bad. when he's asking you to do something, but it's the repercussions of what they're asking you to do that are bad. But the thing doesn't always seem like it's that bad. Like sex. Oh, see, sex doesn't seem that bad. I mean, I actually can feel good. But the thing is, if you're doing it out of alignment of what God has called for your life and called for your plan and called for you and your husband, that's when the repercussions come in. And those are bad. Soul ties, linking yourself to another person, picking up all of the spirits and things, becoming one with someone out of matrimony. That's bad. And when you hear those things, you're like, oh yeah, that doesn't sound good. But the task itself, it doesn't seem too bad. But it's opening that door to the possibilities. Oh, I'm just, I'm drinking, it's only one drink, it's only one puff. It's not that bad. It's just what's one puff gonna do to me? The aftermath is what's bad. You get to doing things that you wouldn't normally do if you were in your spirit. You were in your Holy Spirit, tapped in with your spirit, yourself. But when you're in your flesh, the sin can even sound good, but the aftermath of the sin is what's bad. And I'm going off all on a tangent, but I'm just gonna go where this leads me. But anywho, back to Jesus. Basically, the things that they were saying to him with the devil was trying to tempt him wasn't that bad. He was hungry. Hey, it's like, oh, you're hungry. Like, turn this stone to bread. And Jesus responded with the Bible says that you can't survive on bread alone. Now that is a whole nother deeper meaning that you're gonna have to go seek for yourself. But that, and then he was like, oh, you're covered and protected by God. Throw yourself off of this mountain and see if he'll catch you. And then he's like, the word says, thou shalt not tempt the Lord your God. And it's like, those are just two examples. There's multiple offers in the kingdom, and then eventually he's just like, okay, Satan, get out of here. Like, point proven, you failed. Let's keep it moving. But for him to so easily just make the enemy look like, nothing seems so small and so easily defeated was impressive. But yeah, so that is just one chunk of the Bible. And I would say too, when it comes to reading the Bible, is that it's not one, it might not always be fun. There are going to be parts where it's going to be like, okay, I might have to read it 3 or 4 times. But I think that bringing it to life through God is the best way to do it. Because I am able to, like, one thing too with Jesus. So I know that there's the show The Chosen, which is really, really good. I haven't watched all of it, but I've watched a decent amount of it. But when you're able to take the stories of the Bible and you're able to put them into like a visual aspect, I know there's visual learners and things like that, and I myself, like, it is easier, like, understanding for me if I'm able to see it playing out, or like even if it's just like hands-on. But when you're able to take the scripture and form it into something that you can visually see, it can change the perspective of it for you too. So I think that that's a thing too. What The Chosen was really good, but there was another, I don't remember what it was called, but if you go on YouTube and you search the books of the Bible in movie form, like Matthew movie about the disciples, it's something like that, and it'll pop up, because there was only one kind, and they had other ones too. They had the story of Ruth, they had the story of Esther, they had the Samson, they had David with Goliath, but they have the stories and they have created them into like actual movies basically. And there's Noah. I know they did Noah, they did Moses, but Jonah, like some of the more stories I'm sure that you've heard of maybe, but if you watch that and then you go back and read, you can be like, oh, and it can be really helpful in terms of like really getting the understanding of the stories. And I think too, thinking about the people in the Bible as character, well, not characters, but like the character of the person in the Bible, and being able to pertain that character hopefully to someone you know in life, maybe good or bad, but being able to find those characteristics in the present world. And I think that can be something that's really, beautiful. Like Jonah, when he was running from God, I mean, I'm sure you know somebody who ran from God. I mean, hopefully not. That would be really great if you didn't. But I think we all have, or we ourselves are running. Maybe if you don't know anyone, you're the one running. But we have all ourselves probably either ran from God or know someone who has. And when you read that story, you're like, because you're like, Jonah, like he's in a whale, like, oh my gosh, but he was running from God. And we've been there. And when you run from God, don't think, I wish it was just a whale that swallowed me. No, I'm kidding, but, well, not really, but, it's like you will see that, like, okay, maybe I didn't get swallowed by a fish, but I went through this, and this is just about the same. Like, this is up there with getting swallowed by a fish. So it's kind of like, okay, I can see it. I can see where he's come from. I can see where God was coming from. Things like that.